Rejection acts like a hidden rope coiled tightly around the minds of most individuals, guiding their behavior without their consent. If Niccolò Machiavelli stood beside you today, his advice would echo with brutal clarity. Sever that rope and the world itself shifts beneath your will. Right now, someone avoids speaking to the person they secretly long for because the risk of being denied terrifies them. Another sits silently in a conference room, holding back their ideas because disagreement feels too threatening. These individuals are not free. They exist in a prison whose walls are built from the fear of hearing the word no. Yet what if this dreaded refusal you recoil from was not the monster you think it is? Imagine for a moment that rejection is not your foe, but a tool lying dormant, waiting to be picked up. What if you could turn the sting of dismissal into the spark of authority? That is precisely what Machiavellian insight offers. A reversal in which rejection is not a sentence, but a weapon forged for power. The trap begins inside your brain itself. Modern people crumble under rejection not because they are weak by choice, but because the human nervous system interprets rejection as an attack on survival. Neuroscience has revealed that when you face dismissal, the same neural circuits that process physical injury ignite. The brain confuses a simple no with a punch to the body. Centuries ago, such an instinct preserved life. If your tribe exiled you in ancient times, isolation meant death in the wilderness, so your mind treated exclusion like a fatal threat. But today you are not roaming caves or hunting with spears. That alarm system, once vital, has become the invisible puppeteer dictating every risk you avoid. It whispers that safety is found in compliance, in silence, in playing small. So you dodge opportunities, decline adventures, and kill ideas before they breathe, all to avoid a word that holds no real danger anymore. This evolutionary inheritance has shackled modern ambition more effectively than chains of iron. Every decision you have hesitated to make has been touched by this fear. You avoided applying for a position because rejection loomed too heavy. You let a connection slip away because their indifference would sting. You silenced a daring thought because the crowd might sneer. You convinced yourself not to chase a business idea because the risk of mockery seemed unbearable. In doing so, you mistook rejection for failure, when in reality, rejection is only feedback, a momentary signal, not the collapse of your worth. Yet in avoiding it, you guaranteed weakness. Fear of being dismissed turns individuals into predictable actors. You adjust your language to what you think others prefer. You mold your opinions until they are bland and unthreatening. You shrink ambitions to fit into the comfort zones of those who have no vision for your life. In trying to escape pain, you manufacture invisibility, and invisibility never commands respect. Powerful figures benefit when you fear rejection. They rely on it, because they know someone desperate to avoid disapproval is easy to control. If you dread hearing no, they can shape your choices with ease. They understand that a person terrified of disapproval will twist their entire character just to preserve acceptance. That terror makes you subordinate, dependent on their recognition rather than your own conviction. It converts potential leaders into obedient followers. And the cruel paradox is this: the more you tremble at the prospect of dismissal, the more frequently you will experience it. Neediness has a scent, and others detect it instantly. Desperation oozes from the way you walk, talk, and present yourself. Those around you recoil from the smell, perceiving you as unworthy before you even realize what you have revealed. Rejection, therefore, hunts those who fear it most. Consider the people who command your respect. Do they bend themselves into shapes to earn your favor? Do they dilute their opinions to align with your comfort? Do they hover nervously, trying to win approval with every gesture? Absolutely not. The individuals you admire project indifference to whether you approve of them or not. Their strength lies in their detachment. They operate with a presence that suggests their value does not hinge on your response. This creates a brutal cycle for those trapped by fear. Terror breeds neediness. Neediness breeds rejection. Rejection deepens the terror, and so the loop strangles ambition. Meanwhile, those who are indifferent collect rewards precisely because they are free from this cycle. They speak without trembling, ask without begging, risk without collapse. Rejection strikes them too, but unlike the weak, they are not ruled by it. Machiavelli understood this principle centuries ago. Fear of rejection is the leash leaders tighten around the necks of the many. Machiavelli's writings in The Prince reveal an uncompromising perspective. He argued that the ruler who craves universal approval cannot endure. The attempt to be loved by all transforms strength into fragility. He declared it safer to be feared than adored. because fear compels obedience while love evaporates. For you, this lesson translates into a simple law. Seeking approval at all costs guarantees the loss of influence. To build authority, you must accept that hostility and criticism are inevitable companions. Great figures of history did not beg for approval. They acted in defiance of it. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon knowing rejection by the Senate awaited him. Steve Jobs returned from exile after his own company expelled him, proving vision cannot be permanently denied. Their power arose not from evading rejection, but from embracing it, walking headfirst into the storm. Each rejection became not a verdict but data, not a death but a direction. Fearful men wait for acceptance. Powerful men carve their path regardless. Those who master rejection know it can be turned into a weapon. Instead of viewing dismissal as humiliation, they interpret it as confirmation that they are pushing boundaries. Ask yourself, who faces rejection more often? The timid soul hiding in the crowd or the bold one challenging norms? It is never the silent follower. It is always the risk-taker. Every revolutionary, every entrepreneur, every innovator, every artist has been cast aside by critics, investors, and establishments. But this repetition produces desensitization. Each no trains the psyche like resistance weights in a gym. Every pushback adds strength. Every door slam becomes armor. Eventually the sting dulls to nothing, and what remains is an individual bulletproof against opinion. Those who chase rejection deliberately acquire this immunity. By contrast, those who shelter themselves, avoiding even small risks, remain fragile. When life finally delivers a blow, they shatter because they never practiced absorbing impact. Here lies the paradox of human desire. People are magnetized not by the one who chases them, but by the one who remains unmoved. If you appear to require nothing from others, they begin to crave your approval. Psychology bends in reverse. The desperate are repulsive. The detached are irresistible. Think of the party guest who demands attention with loud antics. They exhaust the room. Now imagine the person who simply enjoys themselves without seeking validation. Others gravitate toward them unconsciously. The same rule applies in business, relationships, and leadership. If your sense of worth is not for sale, you become scarce, and scarcity increases value. The one who is not easily won becomes the prize. At that moment, the dynamic flips. Others fear your rejection more than you fear theirs. And in that shift, true power emerges. Machiavelli observed that perception outweighs reality. People judge you less by the facts of your life and more by how you carry yourself through trials. When you show composure under rejection, others assume you possess resources, confidence, or hidden strength. They do not need proof. Their imagination fills the gap. This perception alone generates influence. The beauty of this principle is that you need not be entirely immune to rejection in truth. You must simply appear unmoved. Internally, disappointment may flicker, but outwardly you continue forward as though nothing touched you. That steadiness is enough. Emotional regulation is the key. Weak individuals let their emotions dictate their behavior. They feel dismissed and immediately beg for acceptance. They feel criticized and twist themselves to appease. The strong acknowledge the sting but choose their response deliberately. They convert pain into resolve, criticism into fuel, rejection into opportunity. This conscious choice separates rulers from the ruled. Now let us move from theory to practice. The first rule is to anticipate rejection instead of chasing acceptance. If you enter every situation praying for yes, you will collapse at no. But if you walk in already prepared for rejection, the word loses its sting. Expect dismissal, and you cannot be shaken by it. Present your request boldly and move forward regardless of outcome. This posture is magnetic because it is rare. Most people beg indirectly, cloaking their requests and apologies, softening their words to invite pity. Their very language confesses doubt in their own value. By contrast, confidence that tolerates rejection commands attention. It allows you to aim higher, to demand more, to risk larger without breaking when refusals arrive. It also shields you against manipulation. When people attempt to guilt you for your standards or shame you for your ambition, you remain steady because you foresaw it. The trap loses its teeth when you expect it. The second rule is to wield rejection against others strategically. Access to you must not be unlimited. Anything available to all is valued by none. Just as exclusive clubs or rare objects gain allure from scarcity, so too does your presence increase in value when it is not freely distributed. This does not require cruelty or arrogance. It requires boundaries. You choose who receives your energy. You decide which opportunities deserve your focus. You decline invitations that waste your time. Every rejection you give reinforces your worth. People will chase harder because you are not easily obtained. Authority grows not from pleasing everyone, but from setting standards that others must rise to meet. Your no shapes your reputation as much as your yes, and sometimes more. The third rule is to interpret rejection as information, not as identity. Every dismissal carries a lesson. Sometimes it signals a poor fit, other times a lack of vision from the other party. Either way, it is not proof of your inadequacy. By framing rejection as data, you detach from its emotional weight. You can adapt, refine, redirect, without spiraling into despair. This mindset transforms setbacks into strategies. Each rejection becomes a compass pointing toward a sharper path. Rather than shrinking, you expand. The fourth rule is constant exposure. Seek rejection deliberately. Apply for positions above your level. Propose ideas in hostile rooms. Approach opportunities others shy away from. With each attempt, rejection loses another layer of power. Over time, your tolerance grows so vast that refusal cannot break you. At that stage, you are free. Others may still reject you, but they cannot rule you. And in that freedom, you find Machiavelli's hidden law of influence. He who cannot be broken by disapproval cannot be controlled by it. Such a man or woman is dangerous, untouchable, magnetic. Scarcity creates desire, and people instinctively crave what is not within everyone's reach. The same principle applies when it comes to human behavior. If you accept every request without hesitation, your agreement loses significance. When you decline selectively, the few approvals you grant carry weight and status. Passing on certain offers signals that the opportunities you do accept must be worth more. Holding back your validation ensures that others work to earn it. This operates in friendships, in professional dealings, and in leadership itself. A partner who is not easily pinned down intrigues more than one who is endlessly available. A consultant who refuses some projects appears far more skilled than one desperate for every client. A leader who doesn't bend for universal praise commands deeper respect than the crowd pleaser who sacrifices standards for applause. But the key is authenticity. Rejection cannot be arbitrary. It must be anchored in genuine criteria, because people quickly detect the difference between someone who denies access out of principle and someone who does it out of pettiness. One response inspires respect, the other breeds hostility. Boldness amplifies this principle further. Hiding from rejection locks you into smallness, but stepping forward in spite of it sets you apart. Asking for what others dare not, speaking truths others silence, or attempting moves most avoid creates a magnetic effect because boldness is rare. In a world of hesitation, courage shines like fire in the dark. But reckless gambles are not the same as calculated audacity. True boldness recognizes risk yet advances regardless. Those who embody this trait gain access others never glimpse. They earn invitations to circles where timidity is excluded. They negotiate from strength because they refuse to settle for weak compromises. They gather stronger allies because they are unafraid to challenge rivals. Every time you stand tall in the face of possible refusal, others assume you must have strength they cannot see. They imagine hidden plans and quiet confidence. This reputation becomes reality. Bold behavior earns respect. Respect reduces rejection. Reduced rejection fuels greater boldness. Even failed attempts strengthen you, providing lessons, resilience, and admiration for your willingness to try. Machiavelli's words remind us that clinging to fantasy ensures ruin, while confronting reality with action brings survival. The most powerful mental shift occurs when you recognize rejection as a reflection of the other person rather than evidence of your inadequacy. If someone turns you down, they are revealing their inability to see what stands before them, not proving that you lack value. Their dismissal shows their limitations, their fears, their narrow perspective. They cannot possibly measure your full scope, your long-term vision, or your untapped potential in a single moment. Rejection is built on incomplete information and biased judgments. When your business idea is dismissed, it reflects the other party's short-sightedness. When your romantic interest turns away, it indicates they fail to recognize the qualities you offer. When your leadership is resisted, it reveals their preference for following elsewhere, not an indictment of your capability. Reframing rejection this way transforms the sting into clarity. Instead of shrinking, you see their blindness. Instead of despairing, you realize they missed an opportunity. Instead of doubting your worth, you doubt their judgment. History is filled with visionaries denied by those who couldn't see. Authors refused, musicians ignored, entrepreneurs overlooked. Those rejections did not define them, but they exposed the blindness of the gatekeepers. By controlling the frame, rejection stops being personal and becomes diagnostic. It reveals who can perceive opportunity and who cannot. It identifies who deserves access to your value and who does not. Most people who reject you never truly understand what they are rejecting. They are responding to superficial impressions. Their decision says more about their perception than your reality. And once you grasp this, rejection loses its ability to wound. You recognize it as external, not internal. It no longer dictates your self-image. Instead, it becomes useful feedback, information about the other party's limitations. That clarity liberates you from the emotional spiral that keeps others enslaved. You walk away, not diminished, but intact, perhaps even amused that they failed to recognize what stood before them. This emotional distance is not arrogance, but survival, allowing you to continue forward without being chained by the fleeting opinions of others. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson is stark. The one who no longer fears rejection cannot be ruled. The timid spend lifetimes twisting themselves to prevent disapproval. Their choices revolve around avoiding no. They dilute ambitions, shrink themselves to fit the expectations of others, and suffocate under the weight of imagined judgment. By contrast, the fearless walk another path entirely. They speak their thoughts without trembling. They pursue goals without worrying who might disagree. They step into leadership roles because criticism does not frighten them. They request what they want because being denied does not break them. This absence of fear becomes their greatest weapon. While the fearful hesitate, the fearless move. While the cautious beg for permission, the bold take authority. While the insecure wait for validation, the fearless produce results so undeniable that approval becomes irrelevant. Others follow not because these leaders never fail, but because they do not allow failure or rejection to dictate their steps. Look at the figures you admire. Their strength lies in disregard for criticism. They do not rewrite their visions for temporary applause. They do not silence themselves to pacify the discontented. They hold their ground, forcing others to choose acceptance or departure. And this very fearlessness attracts loyalty. People are drawn to those who seem free from the invisible chains that bind everyone else. Freedom from needing approval radiates a magnetic quality. When you no longer fear being turned down, you stop seeking validation and start setting standards. You transform into the one others strive to impress. That reversal marks the highest shift in power. Rejection ceases to be something to dodge and instead becomes a sorting tool that directs you toward those aligned with your vision. Being rejected by the wrong people saves you from wasted effort. It protects your time, energy, and ambition from poor investments. Each dismissal cleanses your path, sharpening your focus. The moment you abandon fear of rejection, you stop living by someone else's script. You begin writing your own. You create opportunities rather than waiting to be chosen. You design systems rather than waiting for entry into another's. You attract allies rather than begging for inclusion. This transformation builds with repetition. The first time you walk through rejection, the weight feels heavy, but every subsequent step lightens the load. Each no becomes training, conditioning your psyche to operate without dependence on approval. Each refusal adds another layer of resilience. Over time, you find yourself not weakened but strengthened, not caged but untouchable. And this shift does not simply protect you. It elevates you. It moves you from survival to dominance. The world is littered with opportunities disguised by rejection, guarded by the fear of being told no. Most people stop at the gate, but the truth is the gatekeeper has no real power. It is your fear that makes them formidable. When you strip rejection of its illusion, you find that you never needed permission in the first place. The word no loses its bite. It becomes nothing more than a marker, not a verdict. You discover that progress does not require universal acceptance. It requires resilience, persistence, and audacity. You realize that every rejection was simply part of the process leading to eventual breakthroughs. And more than that, you uncover the deeper secret. Rejection itself can be wielded. By denying access selectively, you raise your value. By acting boldly, you increase respect. By controlling the frame, you strip rejection of its sting. And by refusing to fear it, you become uncontrollable. That is Machiavelli's hidden truth. The one who cannot be ruled by rejection inevitably rules others.